Hi, my name is Rich Fournier, and in this episode, I sit down with Canadian Olympian Joseph Polossifakis. Now, Joseph has had an incredible journey from joining the high school fencing team in the beginning to individual gold medalist at the 2012 Pan American Games, then to hitting the top 30 as an Olympian in the Rio Olympics, to falling from grace to 400th in the world due to a concussion, and then all the way back again to top 30 again, while using techniques like visualization. So stick around while Joseph shares how he overcame adversity and why he now feels that he's on top of his game.
Have you ever wondered why some people thrive in all areas of their life? Welcome to the Peak Results Academy podcast with your host, Rich Fournier. Each week, we interview industry experts who consistently dominate in the fields of health, business, and beyond. Our mission is to share their personal struggles and strategies so that you can create your own peak results. Welcome to the Academy.
Hey everybody, Rich Fournier here, and welcome back to our latest episode at Peak Results Academy podcast. And of course, in this podcast, we're absolutely focused on trying to dig down into the lives of successful people to figure out what has helped them and what's caused them to create a peak result in their life. On this episode, we're really grateful to be sitting down with Joseph Polossifakis, who is an Olympian. He's been very successful at the Pan Am Games in fencing and made it all the way to the Olympics. We're super excited, and hopefully he won't beat me and stick me with a sword for totally destroying his last name. So welcome to the podcast, Joseph.
Thanks, and don't worry, we're too far away so I could hurt you, so we're fine. It's
right, you're just north of Toronto, and you're in Montreal right now.
Yeah, so thanks for the intro.
I do want to give a little bit of background about you. You were part of the Canadian national team since 2009. In 2010, you were a member of the sabre team that won a silver at the FIE World Junior Championships. You then went on to be a double medalist at the Pan Am Games in 2011. You helped the sabre team win a gold medal while claiming an individual bronze medal yourself. In 2012, you captured an individual gold, which is amazing, at the Pan American Championships. And then you ended up at the Olympics, qualified for the Olympics. And how did you end up, how did it work out at the Olympics?
So I made the 2016 Olympics in Rio, and I ended up finishing in 23rd, something like that. The way it works, the Olympics is there's around 30 of us that get chosen around the world. Yeah. It's very, very few people get to go there. So the competition is pretty much, if you're like 30th in the world, well, then you go against number 1, and then number 2 against 29, and direct elimination bouts, no round robins, no warm up. So if you lose in your first round, I was ranked 29th in the world at the time. 28th or something. And actually at the competition, I ended up fencing like the 5th or 6th in the world, depending what my ranking was. And I lost the first round. So the day was over in 15 minutes. So it's pretty heartbreaking.
You know what? We're going way too far ahead here. My God. I mean, top 30 in the world. That's outstanding. One of the things we like to do on this podcast is to, figure out what has actually created a peak result. Like what made that happen? What's the whole, the sauce that made you climb to such a high level? And so maybe we could start off by, telling me, how did you get involved in the fencing world? How did that even start?
Yeah, it was total luck. As a kid, obviously, I liked seeing, sword fighting and Zorro and all that stuff. But when I first went to my high school at 12 years old in Quebec, it just, happened to be one of the best high schools in the country for fencing. It was renowned around the country, and the coach had been there for 15 years. And when you go to the school, like trying out for the fencing team was like trying out for hockey or basketball or any one of those sports. And it actually it was around 50-60 of us to try it out, and the team was cut down to 20 people, so it was very selective. And I almost didn't make the team at all because the tryouts were actually pretty pretty interesting. The first day he made everybody run a mile, and if you didn't run a mile, you didn't even get a chance to try out for the fencing team or do anything fencing related. And at the time, I was more of a type of sprinting type. I liked soccer, I liked martial arts. I was doing at the time, and I was more of a sprinting type athlete, but I wasn't like long distance type, and I never really ran a mile at that time. And I was pretty sure I was gonna fail miserably. But what happened is the day of the mile, my class ran 15 minutes over time. So then I ran out at the end of the class. I came to see him, and I saw kids running, and some were in tears already who hadn't finished it. And they were already cut from the team. And the others had finished it. They're all going back into the gym to start an actual fencing tryout. And then he told me, listen, you're cut. I'm sorry. You didn't make it on time. I don't have time to make you run it. So I said, listen, I'm sorry. Can I please run? My class went late. And he's like, listen, okay, I didn't know your class went late. Now that I know that, come inside to do the rest of the training, and then I'll make you run it sometime this week. I thought he was going to make me run it there, and I was just going to collapse in front of everyone while everyone was watching. But at the end of the day, I was lucky because he had a bad memory. So I kept doing the tryouts, all of them, like for the whole week. And he never made me run that mile, but I did end up doing pretty well in the rest of the stuff. So when I made the team at the end of the last 20 people, to me, it was like a miracle and like a sign that, I can't quit this sport now until everyone else around me on this team quits before me. Like that was my motivating factor. I was like, if I have to be the last one standing from this group of people to show that I earned my spot and I deserve to be there.
So if you don't mind me asking, where did that drive come from? Is your family like that? Is there a desire to win in your family?
My dad was a pretty competitive guy, but he was never one to like push me to really do, he was never too overbearing or like really intense. He just wanted me to be happy. My mom was super, super supportive. And as a kid, I was doing a lot of sports, and I liked winning. I liked competing. And I just, I had a knack for those type of sports. So, quick muscle fiber. And it just translated well. And at one point, you start off because you're having fun, hitting people over the head with a sword as a kid and not getting in trouble for it. You're actually, getting applauded for it, and you're getting encouraged to do it. So it was a very big change of scenery for me. I felt that it was very refreshing. You could just, and I was in an all boys school, so we were all just, like having a good time and having good fun doing it. And it turned into a passion that I wanted to get better at. And, when you see some progress, it sort of fuels you to keep trying to get more progress out of it. So it's small incremental steps. We get better and better. You have little, small short-term goals and medium-term goals. And when you see that you could reach them, well, then you try and think bigger. And then how do I get to this next step? And then you try and make the right steps to keep progressing.
What was the training like for you? Did you have to train, once you got to the level of, really being able to compete and qualify to get to the Pan Am Games?
Yeah.
Like how formalized was your coaching on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So at one point when it really got really serious, when I turned around 19 years old, we came second at the junior world championship. So it was my last year junior. Junior ends at 19 years old, and then you go into the senior ranks. You could compete senior before, but it's just there's a junior ranking international competitions that ends at 19. So on that last year, we came second in the world as a team, and it was the first time ever Canada had won a medal as a team at a world championships for junior. And right after that point, we got some funding from On the Podium Canada, where we got a coach from Russia who came just to train four of us who are now entering the senior national team. I was one of the youngest on the team, and there was three other guys who were already on the senior team, and I entered the team then. And then there's this Russian coach who came to take four of us and just train us full time to try and qualify for 2012 Olympics. So what happened was I would train in the morning, then I'd go to school, then I'd go back to training at night. And same thing, and it would happen, 5 days a week. That's what we do, and then Saturday morning. So it was very, very so it was 2 hours in the morning, then 2 hours at night, and then you do that for 5 days a week, and then a Saturday morning, and then you try to recover on Sunday and then start it over. it was between 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes the night practices were longer. In the morning, you try to get 2 hours in, and then because I was still in school, it was part time, but I was trying to get with my schedule. So nighttime was a little bit more flexible, but we had every minute was counted, and you had to really be driving from one place to the other. It was very tiring. And keeping up with schoolwork, doing your competitions, because I still wanted to keep my foot in the door in school, because it's always good to have a little bit of something else to distract you a bit, and also because fencing doesn't have a pro career after sports, so you have to have a plan B, right?
That's right. And I'm just trying to understand the training a little bit more, just because I have no experience in that world. Was there a lot of gym work aside from the actual fencing? Did you have?
So there was everything. There was so the mornings it would be usually one-on-one with your coach. So an individual lesson where you would do technique, you would do tactics, you would do tactics, defensive tactics, because there's a lot of different things you could do in a fencing match. And your opponent's different, and you have to have different tactics for different situations. So you would do that for about 45 minutes one-on-one. Then you'd go to the gym, have different plyometric exercises, different types of core exercises, sprints, things like that. Then you'd go to school, then come back at night, and it would be sort of scenarios you'd be put in with your teammates, different scenarios that could happen that you have to practice in attack and defense, and then you do matches. Then you'd fence against each other, 15-point bouts, sometimes with themes, like you could only attack to this particular spot, or if you do this type of parry, you get more points, just to try and encourage you to do something different, to build your game. And then sometimes it'll just be free fencing, just you just want to win now, just do whatever it takes to win. And then we'd also do simulation competitions every weekend, try and recreate the competitive environment, because the hardest part in competition is to translate what you do in practice in competition. And what comes into play that's different is all that the extra pressure and stress that actually eats up at your energy and your decision making. And that sometimes if you don't recreate that in practice enough, and it's too laid back, or you don't get that extra pressure, well, then it's hard for sometimes some people to translate being good in practice and being good in competitions. That's usually that gap that's hard to fill. So the most you could recreate that in practice, the better prepared you are in competition, even though it's never the exact same feeling, right?
That's right. We talk about there's a knowing and doing gap in performance. And so you just mentioned, I think you kind of hit on it, where I know something, but to do something in the moment is different than knowing. And most people don't, they do it, but they don't do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't bridge the gap between the two, you're never going to perform to that level. Now, is creative visualization, is that how much of a part of your success was that?
I did that a lot, and I would do it a lot. Even close to my competition, I would always think of the goal of visualization for me was to try and bridge that gap of, on game day, you don't let external things add extra stress to you. You've already sort of gone through them in your head, right? So that was what the point of it was for me, is that you don't want to get to a competition day and get rattled by things, or get thrown off your game by unexpected situations, or not know what your routine's going to be. And then that stresses you out because you don't know what time you're supposed to do anything. So all those things are what sort of add onto game day. And that's when you sort of get to the time to perform, and you've already sort of depleted some of your mental energy for nothing. So what visualization would do for me was I would, think of my whole, preparation for a competition. The day of, the morning, I would, see myself getting ready, going to eat breakfast, going to do all that, the normal stuff. Then I would see myself, get warming up, how I'm going to do it, what time I'm going to warm up, exactly knowing when my match is going to be. And then even being in a match, seeing myself do some actions that I do well, that I see myself doing, seeing myself lose points. And then how do I react to that? Because that's also what a big mental drainer in fencing. In sabre, fencing, first of all, has 3 weapons: sabre, epee, and foil. And those are completely different sports in themselves. And so mine is called the sabre. And in sabre, it's the most subjective one. So the referee has a lot of input on whose point it is. it's not just when the light goes on, it's whoever light went on is their point. You have to have the attack priority. So it's a little bit complex to get into right now, but the point is, when the referee makes a mistake, or you think he made a mistake and you think you did everything right, you executed perfectly, it should be your point, and it goes to the opponent, it's very easy to get rattled, get upset, argue with the ref, ask him why, not understanding, and then it throws you off your own game. And those moments are what's important to visualize, because how you react after those moments could determine if you lose or win the match. Because if you give away another 2 easy points because you're frustrated and upset and you just try to get it back quickly, you end up doing things that you didn't really think through. And that's what visualizing really helps. It's like, okay, what's going to happen? It's going to be a mistake. How are you going to deal with it? What are you going to do? How are you going to get back into your position, your on guard position, in a neutral mindset, ready for the next point? And that's one of the biggest challenges. And at the highest levels, that's what the best guys do. They're able to overcome those. Yeah.
Wow. And so how much of your training would you have given over to visualization? Was it a daily ritual that you performed in your own mind?
Yeah, so you tried. It was sometimes hard on a daily basis, even though we tried, because sometimes you get so caught up in doing all the the technical things, the physical training, trying to sleep well, doing your getting everything ready, that we didn't actually have a dedicated sports psychologist. So it was something that we started doing on our own. Then eventually I got one on my own and started implementing it more. But at the time, it was because we were training so much on that. It's like that part was sort of neglected, and it was also a time where I think it was less prevalent, and people knew less how important it was around the 2012 years. But it's definitely become such a big part of what is important. How you speak to yourself in a match, what you tell yourself determines how your body's going to react. It's so it seems far-fetched, but it's very important. How you think to yourself, what you tell yourself, it actually has an impact on your performance. So it's such a big part that is often overlooked, as you have to train your brain like you train your body, and you can't just do it once every 3 weeks and think it's going to work. And maybe that was something that in 2012 I was lacking a bit more of, because sometimes I would have a really good result doing a really good result, and then sometimes be inconsistent and have a bad result, and I wouldn't understand why. And it was hard to find consistency, even though I would have sometimes very good and sometimes very bad. So definitely, you learn a lot from those situations, and you see what actually works and doesn't work.
If you look back today on your career, which you should be immensely proud of, I'm blown away. Top 30 in the world get chosen to go to the Olympics. Yeah. That's an outstanding accomplishment. So hopefully you
Thank you.
revel in that. If you look back today, is that, I know I'm kind of harping, really focusing on the visualization, but in the business world or sales or whatever it is, I find that most people just, they just go start trying to do and not really create a vision of what they really, really, truly want.
Yeah.
Playing it out in their mind. So if you look back now, do you think that if you were to redo it again, would that be a bigger part of your training regime?
Yeah, for sure. And I would get someone earlier in my career to help guide that aspect of it, because some people are like, oh yeah, I'm fine. You tell yourself some things, but there's actually a science behind this. It's not voodoo stuff. So there's so many research papers, best practices, things people have learned from other athletes, other experiences, and the sports psychologists or mental preparation coaches. It's actually scientifically based, and it's something that I would have liked to have started even earlier in my career. Definitely. And I encourage any athlete or anyone who wants to achieve something, you need to have that as part of your arsenal.
Yeah, what we find, actually, I was on doing an interview with the former #1 agent for Remax worldwide.
Okay.
And he supports 100% everything that you're saying. I know he starts his day off one with gratitude, prayer, and really seeing where he's going, really visualizing how it's going to play out in his mind. And each and every single day is a brand new day. He lets yesterday go away, doesn't exist anymore. And it's all about today and focus and really, intentional in everything that he does and visualizing in the morning. Hearing you say that, top tier athlete, global athlete, maybe who's just relaying how important visualization of what you're trying to attain is it's great to hear.
Yeah, because it gives you if you see it happen in your mind, first of all, it's the first step to you believing it could happen. Like, it's the first step, and then you sort of just let you guide yourself in that area because you've seen an image, and it's like everything sort of subconsciously pushes you towards that image, and even if it doesn't go exactly as that, what perfect vision you have in your head, it brings you towards that spot real close, and I think it was also something I heard from a speech from the astronaut Chris Hadfield, right? It's Chris Hadfield, who came back and he said, visualizing for success is important, but also visualizing for failure. So visualizing a little bit like what I said is, astronauts have to visualize everything that could possibly go wrong and how you would solve it and go through it in your mind. So when it happens, it's not such a shock. So if anyone who is afraid of failing or fear of failing, see yourself, even not having success, and how you would react if you hit an obstacle in your business or whatever it is. How will you push back from that? What would you do in that moment if it happened to you? So when it does happen, you're less of shock and wondering how to cope with it, and you just go into solution mode because you've already been through it and you're ready for this.
That's right. Some of the research that I've seen is that almost 95% of who we are and what we do on a daily basis is habitual.
Yeah,
and we only actually consciously think maybe 5% of the day. 95% of everything we do is habitual. And so if we don't consciously choose the direction that we're going, we will just continuously stay in that habit for the rest.
Yeah, and when you develop a bad habit, it's very hard to break. So it's better to start with developing good habits first.
Right.
I think it's easier to develop good habits than to break bad habits.
I got a few bad habits I'm working.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, anyone will tell you, like, some bad habits that, let's say smoking, right? It's a typical example. So it's bad for you, it's killing you, and you still can't stop it. A habit becomes ingrained in your, like, the way your brain works and your body acts. It's because it's more than just something you could just turn off. You really have to focus on it and really concentrate because it affects your whole body. So better start with good habits and try to keep those, and try to then go down this road of not thinking, just doing whatever, and then trying to break those bad habits. I think it's definitely a better start.
100%. When you look at the difference between someone in your world who was who made it to your level versus somebody who played with it and didn't get to your level, what is that difference? What was the difference between both of you?
So yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Well, first of all is I had a certain talent in it initially, right? Initially the talent, but a lot of people had talent too initially. Second thing is that I wanted to get better, and I was putting the efforts to get better. When I saw was, I had some talent, so that gave me some more motivation, and I wanted to get better at it. And I saw that when I would put in the effort, I would get better at it. So I kept doing more. But that's still not enough because there's other people in that same boat, right? But the most important part is when I would get through huge obstacles or something really bad, it's why do you keep going? And I would always ask myself, okay, why would I want to continue after having this really bad injury or this huge setback or, not a bad year? And, the why was always because, I felt like I still had stuff to prove to myself in the sport, and I felt like I could be even better. And I liked doing it. So I was always asking myself that question, and always going back to, there's still guys in this that are active that were from my first year when I started. And I said I wouldn't stop before these guys are all done. So that was another reason I would keep going, right? But at the end of the day, it's just because I kept going, and I had all those other factors around, the talent, the hard work, but mostly because you persevere and you keep going through these obstacles. At the end, people just start falling. Like they get distracted, they give up, they don't want to do it anymore. They lose the passion. And I just kept finding ways to keep going. And eventually you break through and you get to that next level. But that's 90% of the secret, like just that perseverance, right?
So you said you had a desire.
Yeah.
You have to have a desire for it.
Yeah.
A why that you created in your own mind.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You had some obstacles that came up, and I do want to talk about your big obstacle.
Yeah.
And then you had to dig back deep into your why to get past the obstacle.
Yeah.
Right. And then you had to be accountable to your word because you said you were going to do something.
Yeah. And then it would be a very big betrayal to myself if I didn't. It's like it would be a big, an internal battle, and I wouldn't be able to like be okay with it.
Where did you learn that one? Because that's called integrity, giving yourself a command and then being able to follow through with that command regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah,
that's not common.
Yeah, that's hard. And it was really based on the fact I truly believed I was given a small miracle that I couldn't squander until I felt I earned the right to be like, okay, I could stop now, or like that. I felt like I had to give it, something happened there that let me get through, and I couldn't squander that opportunity. It's like something that you have to keep reminding yourself that, and that gives you like extra fire in those tough moments, right? You need something to fall back on. And that gives you like, that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing it.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So you had a challenge, major challenge in the course of your career.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not too uncomfortable to talk about, but what happened and how did you get through it?
Yeah. So the biggest one I went through was in 2014. I was getting ready. I had just graduated. I had finished university, and I was trying to make a second run at an Olympics because I didn't actually qualify in 2012. Right, I didn't make it. So I was going all in. I had finished university, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep going at it. Going to try and make it. And I was training to make for the World Championships in the summer of 2014. And what happened was we were doing a cross training activity with other fencers that it was part of our, training. Like we want to do a small cross training, work some other muscles with boxing, which is, it's good activity. But it was just very poorly managed by the person who's doing it for us. He put like random fencers in the ring with each other and just gave us some big gloves and said, here, try and do some light sparring for fun, just see what it's like. And, I felt uncomfortable in the moment, but I was like, oh, everyone else was doing it. And, the guy assured us there was not going to be a problem because the gloves were really big. And, but anyway, I had a really bad feeling. I didn't want to do it. And I ended up doing it. And I was in against another fencer who was a bigger guy. And, he socked, we were hitting each other and he hit me across the head too. But I got like an immediate headache. And I realized something was not right anymore. So I stopped, and that headache ended up turning into, one of the worst moments of my life. For 6 months, I had a bad concussion that I had symptoms that were not going away, and I was seeing specialists 3 times a week, all sorts of different specialists, different therapies. I couldn't go outside, I couldn't work out. I couldn't be in a room with like 4 people because it was too loud. Couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. I pretty much had every symptom that I had tinnitus in my ear, constant ringing. So pretty much every symptom you could get. So instead of being training full time like everyone else in the world was to try and make qualifying, I was in my bed looking at a ceiling and getting lifts to go to the doctor, trying to find. I had to see different doctors to try and figure out what was going on. Some people didn't know what it was. They didn't know how to deal with it because concussions are so abstract, and everyone deals with them differently. So if you really don't see specialists who know what they're doing, people could just be like, oh, it'll be fine in a week. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it leaves and then comes back. And that's what happened to me. I thought I was fine for a bit, came back into training, got even worse symptoms a week later, and then I was out for months. And that really changed my whole perspective on life, and when I was able to get out of that, which took like a good, 6 months, I was back starting to slowly to train. I wasn't even thinking about the Olympics anymore. I was just so grateful to be back, to be able to have be a normal person and be able to even more of a privilege, be able to fence again. And I was just super grateful to be back on the strip, and I wasn't even thinking about results anymore. I was just thinking about just, go through this process, whatever happens, but just be grateful for it, and whatever happens. And I ended up recovering and getting some of my form back quickly, and was able to pull out some really good results at the end of the Olympic qualification, and managed to qualify at the last second for Rio. So it was from the worst period of my life to like the best time of my life within the same year and a half, which was, I went through every type of emotion, because, I'm talking about it now and it's like, yeah, it was 6 months, but you don't have a timeline when you're in a concussion. I thought I'd never recover, and I still have symptoms to this day. But I thought I'd never be able to. You wake up every day with a headache. You can't look at your phone; it hurts your eyes. You can't watch TV; it hurts. Like, you can't work out; you start getting headaches. You can't take a walk outside; you get dizzy. Like, it was, everything was on hold. Everything was shut down from my functions. I said, I don't even care about fencing anymore at that point. I was like, I just want to become a normal person again. And just being able to do what other people do is so satisfying and gratifying when you come back from it, that you realize, puts things in perspective. So, and it sort of helped me fall in love again with my sport at the time, find, the why and all that. I was able to really reconnect with it, and just being grateful for everything after that. So, taught me a lot, and unfortunately, a very hard way. I wouldn't say that I would probably wish I never had it happen to me, but you can't really go back and change it. So you have to find what you could learn from it, and that's the only thing you could do going forward.
And so you're still having symptoms today?
Yeah, mostly the ringing in the ear, tinnitus at night. Could hear it, and it's always like a little reminder in a way.
And say, hey.
Yeah, exactly. It's maybe maybe it's a reminder to when you feel something's wrong, you could say no, and don't give into you should, or like think you get your ego get in the way, or your pride, like I should have just not done that activity. You just said no, this is not. I don't feel like it's safe. I don't think I should do it. But I think maybe that's what it's a reminder of, and the lesson you should learn from that as well, right? It's okay to say no and stand your ground, and don't get balled up with what everyone else is doing. It doesn't matter. If you have that voice in your head and something's holding you back, just don't do it. So sometimes our ego gets in the way, our pride, or all that stuff, and it's a good reminder that you could really pay for that in other ways.
Listen to yourself is the lesson of the day.
Yeah, I really think it is. That little voice.
And that little voice. So is there an age limit? Like, is that it? Are you done with the game? Is there an opportunity there, or have you thought about it? I'm not sure what kind of age limits there are.
No, the age limits are not too. I mean, you peak in fencing. You could peak at 28, 29, 30. Even more if you're good, because you combine everything. It takes a long time, because you could be a really physical guy, young and athletic, but if you don't know how to apply the right actions at the right time against different opponents, different distances, tempos, different people coming at you with different tactics, like, you have to be able to adapt to your opponents, right? Everyone's a different fight, so every match is different. And that comes with experience, dealing with referees, dealing with bad calls, dealing with being down 3-4 points, coming back, dealing with being ahead and closing out the match, and all those things are built with experience over the years. So you could be a quick young guy, but if you don't have any of that experience in competitions, like, you're going to get smoked by the older guys who could put everything together. So I've still been active. What I did was, a year and a half ago, I decided to try and keep making a run for it, but at the same time I didn't want to go 100% all in at this time, because funding was non-existent. I didn't want to get in debt, $40K a year just on fencing, without any other expenses. And so I found a way to get a job, work, and also be flexible enough that I could leave. The job is full time though, so it's been a real challenge. It's been a whole other challenge this cycle to try and make an Olympic qualification, because I'm the only one in the world, and at least fencing, I know, that is working full time and still competing, trying to make the Olympics. So it was a heck of a change of lifestyle. It was way easier when I was doing school and training, but work and training is a whole other ball game. So it's been a whole other lessons that I learned, but it's been satisfying but very difficult.
So maybe that's something we should figure out, that GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah, exactly. I was always thinking of doing that, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna find my own way around it, but it could definitely help.
If you were to give any athlete in whatever sport they're in any advice to help them get to that level, what's the three top things that you would tell them they have to either be or do to get to that level?
Yeah, I mean, it's different sports require different aptitudes, like also physical aptitudes, but everything's pretty much the same. In what I said is that you have to have the passion to do it, because you're gonna always have hard times, and you have to always know why you're doing it, and doing it for the right reasons. Sometimes you get into like a routine and a habit, and even a sport could become just a habit. You're just doing it, and that's what you know. But if you don't actually have it with a purpose and why you're doing this, like, you'll become flat, and you won't be looking to get better. You won't be looking to improve. So you need to always find ways to keep yourself passionate about it, and remind yourself why you're doing this. uh Second would be just perseverance, total perseverance, because even the best guys with the most talent, who are the fastest, strongest, every single Olympian or athlete I've ever met has had stories of obstacles that they overcame, and that's usually the difference between someone who made the Olympics, someone who didn't. It's just they just kept going, they found ways around it, they recovered, they came back, and they just never saw it as an obstacle, but an opportunity to overcome something. That's just how they frame it. The way they frame it is how they're able to come out of it better. So when I got to the Olympics, everyone had some kind of crazy story, and it was incredible. So it was just like a Disneyland of stories, and it was actually a weird, what a weird world, what a bubble.
Right.
And third, I'd say, yeah, just you have to have passion, but and enjoy the process, more than trying to attain that goal. Because if I learned that as well, because in 2012 I didn't make the Olympics, right? And that was a big shock. It was a big hit for me, and at the time it sort of defined my whole identity. And I said to myself, I failed because I didn't make the Olympics. But I forgot, that I had traveled the world. I had made international friends. I got medals at international competitions. I had the first time ever getting a world championship medal in the history of Canada. I was in the top 30 in the world at that time as well, and I didn't go because of anyway, it's a long story, but I was still in the top guys in the world, and all that stuff became worthless to me because I didn't qualify for the Olympics. And at the time, it was devastating, and I reoriented a lot of my priorities after that. But then Rio came along, right, and I qualified for Rio, but I went through all that real crap in between that made me reframe of everything how I thought. So I qualified, I went, and my moment at the Olympics was over in 15 minutes, right? And yes, to become an Olympian, it's amazing, but the journey, the things I learned and overcame is really the person that you become. And if I'd qualified for Rio or not, I was the exact same person. Like it's just because qualifying for Rio is such a subjective. The Olympic Committee decides there's a certain number of spots because you can't fit everybody in a village. So the sports, the way it's done is just such a subjective way of determining someone's worth. It makes no sense, right? But your worth because you're the same person whether you went to the Olympics or not, and everything you learn, that's what you take with you everywhere else after. So you can't let a goal define who you are. It has to be that process that you have to enjoy. And when you attain a goal, you always want to attain another one. You're never happy, but you become better by finding those new goals because they make you become a better, stronger person in every sort of way. So that's something I would tell them.
That is the most amazing piece of advice. You have to love the process. It's not about the outcome. If you don't enjoy the process every single day, you'll never get to that level anyway.
Yeah, you won't.
That's awesome advice. You inspire me.
Thanks.
You inspire me to want to pursue more, to get better, to not stop, to push towards something that I really truly want. And I appreciate you taking the time to give of yourself, right? And that message will impact someone's life tremendously.
Well, that's what you could hope for, right? At the end of this too, is like, I didn't just, do this for 15 years to learn how to hit people over the head with a sword, right? It's so much more that you learn on the way. And if you could pass that on after, well, that creates so much more than just what your sporting career could have done, and limit the number of years that you could do that. You could keep giving for years and all your life after that, everything you've learned. So that's even more important later on than anything you've accomplished, any medal you've won, that's just hardware, right? But like being able to do that, and it also helps me, because it helps me frame everything I learned and tell myself, okay, well, what did I learn? What can I apply to my life, and what can I help others know about? And it's fulfilling even more than any kind of result,
That's amazing. You should literally consider the GoFundMe campaign.
I know.
I'm listening to you. And how old are you now?
29 now.
You need to do this now.
I know.
Like right now. Whatever help you need, we'll figure out a way to help you. We'll promote the funding, because I'd love to see you make another run.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see how it is. I started the year when I started fencing again, like to try and make the Olympics. I was 400th in the world, because I'd taken a break after the Rio Olympics to go work, and I was working in Toronto actually. And when I came back, I was 400th, and now I'm back in the top 30 in the world. I'm the 30th right now. So and with working, I have to admit it's been a huge challenge. I got some injuries this year. With work, I don't have a lot of time to do that extra stuff, like the right physio, the right massage therapy, the right, you're just like trying to do what you have to do to stay active, but all that extra stuff. And I saw it, I felt it, this year it was tough.
Sorry. Yeah, I was 400 when I got back in. Now I'm in the top 30.
Yeah.
It's just out there at the end of the interview. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're so humble, but to go. So you started back when? Sorry.
Yeah, so it was November. I'd say November 2018. November 2018. So that's
100 ranked in November 18.
Yeah.
In the last,
So yeah, year and a half. Yeah, came back. Yeah, it was a heck of a year, and it was well, the working full time part is the hard part, because time is so precious after that. I try to train some mornings that I had off, then I go at nights to train, and then I leave for 3 weeks for competitions. Then I come back to like flurries of emails and things you have to deal with, but you still have to keep training. I know why nobody else is doing it in the world now. I learned that. That's another lesson I learned.
Like trying to have a social life while you're.
It's really tough. A lot of things have gone by the wayside.
I guess one thing to consider is that this time will go away.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
You can't go back.
No.
The clock doesn't stop for anyone.
No, exactly.
The time period is over. You can't go back. I'm at a certain age now, and you can't go back. And so.
No, I know. That's
why you can.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. And a lot of people told me the same thing, so we'll see how this goes now.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for your message today. I know for sure it's going to impact some people dramatically.
I hope so.
It will. And we'll keep in contact. And I think you should seriously consider the GoFundMe campaign. And maybe we should touch base after this and have a real conversation about that.
All right, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. And hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a good time. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you so much for being you, and have an amazing day. And thanks for taking the time again.
Cool.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in seeing if you are fit to work with Peak Results Academy, here's what I want you to do next. Head over to peakresultsacademy.com/call. That's peakresultsacademy.com/call and book an appointment to speak with our team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, what do you really want out of life and your business? Number 2, what is not working for you today? And number 3, the exact strategy you should be using to create massive change in these areas. Remember, changing your life and creating massive results does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen. We're helping clients all over the world create peak results in their health, in their businesses, and in their personal lives. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to peakresultsacademy.com/call. We'll chat soon.